Good evening. The date is September 24th, 2024. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you'll please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. Flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Ms. Najilski Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. C,
Present.
Mr. Wiggins, Ms. Young,
Here.
Ms. Edie,
Here.
Ms. Dunn,
Here.
Mr. Sutton,
Present.
Mr. Frere,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan,
Here.
Mr. Wiggins. 13, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of the special meeting of September 9th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Mr. Burnett, are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Goldstein abstains. Motion carries.
I
Sorry,
also
Ms. Shanahan?
abstain.
Oh, okay. Ms. Shanahan also abstains. Thank you. Next item is the acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 10th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Mr. Goldstein.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it says that I was not in attendance at this meeting, but in fact, I was.
Okay,
So that could be changed.
so that's an omission.
That is an omission.
Any other corrections, omissions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected? Abstentions? Opposition? Motion carries. Next, we have resignations and appointments. We have a resignation of Ms. Teresa Quell from the, I'm sorry, you got it, public participation. I know we have somebody here that wishes to speak, Ms. Moina Noor.
Good evening, members of the Common Council. My name is Moina Noor, and I reside at 15 Pequot Drive. I serve as the president of the Norwalk Public Library Board, and am here to address one of your agenda items, the leasing of 3 Belden Avenue to the Fairfield County's Makers Guild for a period of 36 months. As you're all well aware, the library purchased 3 Belden Avenue in May with the primary purpose of supporting the library renovation and expansion project. We are very grateful to the city and the First Acting District for facilitating this acquisition, as it's crucial for the future of the library. The city and the library board are in the early stages of hiring an architect to gather community and staff input, conduct a building needs assessment, and draft architectural plans for the expansion. This process will take a couple of years to complete. In the meantime, we welcome the potential addition of a makerspace next door. The library serves as a hub of community education and creativity, which aligns with the mission of the makerspace. In fact, we already have a makerspace within our library, and we see potential for collaboration between these two spaces. As you deliberate, I respectfully ask you to continue to consider the library's interests as you consider this lease. The library board, along with Director Sherelle Harris, is available to provide any information or support needed as we move forward with the lease. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Noor. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to address the council? James, is there anybody else online? Okay.
Vladimir Mariano.
Hi, this is Vladimir Mariano with the Fairfield County Makers Guild. Can you hear me okay?
We can, Vlad. Thank
Great.
you.
I wanted to voice my support for the license agreement between the Makers Guild and the 3 Belden Ave property. I believe the location is perfect as it allows us to serve a greater portion of our community. Also puts us right next to the library and works great because we both really have a similar mission. And I just wanted to briefly talk a little bit about the history, which was back in 2012. We started the Makers Guild with the vision of establishing a community makerspace. We initially didn't have a physical location, and our journey actually began with the Norwalk Library. I had reached out to Chris Bradley, the director at the time, to discuss the idea of bringing a makerspace to the Norwalk Library. Chris was highly supportive, and although the library couldn't offer a permanent space, we ended up forming a strong partnership. Together, we organized regular workshops on topics like 3D printing, electronics prototyping, digital design, and more. In fact, we played a major role in the library acquiring 3D printers, and we're the ones to train the staff and how to use them. I mentioned this to share the history and partnership we've had with our local libraries, and that we have a similar mission of providing access to resources, education, and services that promote lifelong learning and community engagement and enrichment. We currently are completely volunteer run. We provide access to tools and technology that would be difficult for a single person to acquire. And it's our mission to make these more accessible. We run workshops where we teach how to use these tools and workshops that teach a variety of skills ranging from crafting to tech development. Community members use our makerspace for artistic as well as entrepreneurial pursuits. And besides access to tools, Makerspace provides access to a creative community that values lifelong learning and sharing their knowledge and skills with one another. So I just wanted to kind of give a little background and hope you agree that a community makerspace would be a great addition to the Wall Street area. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen what you do and you do a great job. So thank you.
Ralph Bernabe.
Yeah, hi. My name's Ralph Burnaby. I'm a Norwalk resident, and I'm here to talk to you about the 3 Belden Hill property in support of the Fairfield County Makers Guild renting that property. I've been a member for probably close to 10 years, and during that time, I've learned a lot of skills from 3D printing, laser cutting. I've gotten a lot of skills in woodworking. I also got my job. I currently work for Wave Drowning Detection System, which is a startup in Norwalk. We have a system for protecting children when they swim at YMCAs or other organizations. A lot of the skills that I learned from the Guild were directly applicable to my tech job there. And my boss, Dave Cutler, who's also a member of the Guild, and I, whenever we need a new employee, the first place we go to is to Vladimir to look for an employee, because we know that they're going to have a certain level of technical skills. And that's the important thing. Finding those technical skills are usually very difficult. And for a startup, this is an incredibly valuable resource. Not only when we're prototyping and we need a laser cutter to prototype something, we can go there and cut something out, but also the community, having access to the community's knowledge and as a resource is invaluable to our organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seth Lefferts.
Good evening, all, and thank you for giving me a chance to do my short testimonial about 3 Belden Avenue also. I am a semi-retired 71-year-old who has to be doing things to stay active and to hone down and keep my mind sharp. And I used to have a lot of equipment of my own that would enable me to build furniture or do projects. But it became too much to carry around with me as I moved from place to place, ending up in Norwalk for years. So with a new project in mind, I looked on the internet and I found the Makerspace. And it was an ideal opportunity for me to have access to new tools that I couldn't afford to get on my own or carry around with me, laser cutters, CNC machine, 3D printers, but also from gaining all the collaborative experience of the people who I've met down there who range from 12 years old to older than me. And it has just proven to be a huge and wonderful asset for me. And in fact, it was through the Makerspace that I was contacted about participating in a PBS documentary called Supercharging Your Brain. And they featured me for a 3-minute segment that included a trip down to the Makerspace so that we could show all of the wonderful creativity that is going on in this experience. So I'm here to put in my few words to say that without it, I don't know what I would be doing as far as projects and keeping my brain sharp. So I appreciate this very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to allow me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liffords. James, is there anybody else online that wishes to address the council?
If you wish to address the council, please raise your hand electronically at this time. There are none, Mr. Mayor.
And is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to address the council? If not, we'll close public participation. Thank you. Now we move on to resignations and appointments. I'm saddened to announce that Teresa Quell from the Board of Health is resigning from the Board of Health for personal reasons. She's been a really good servant of the city of Norwalk, a good volunteer for many, many years, as well as her parents is the same. And she's going to be missed, very difficult to replace. I want to thank her for her service to our city and also to wish her well as she moves forward in the next chapter and wish her Godspeed. Would anybody else like to comment on Ms. Quell? Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Just briefly, during my time appointed to the Board of Health, Teresa was extremely helpful in just getting me up to speed and also providing direction in terms of the work that we had to do on the Board of Health. But at that time, we were beginning the work of accreditation for the city of Norwalk. So there was a tremendous amount of paperwork and processes and procedures we had to put in place. And she took a very key role in making that happen. So I want to thank her for her commitment, because it was because of her energy, along with the rest of the board at the time, that we became one of the first Board of Health in the state of Connecticut to be accredited. So kudos to Teresa.
Absolutely. Further comment or discussion?
I just want to
Ms. Young.
acknowledge, thank you. I just want to acknowledge her many years of service, because I know that Ms. Quell has been on the Board of Health for several years, for many years.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that dedication. And so I just want to say thank you for all of her years of service.
Okay, so seeing no more, we'll move on to appointments. We have Mr. Donald Remsen I'm putting forward for the Harbor Management Commission. He is a boater in the city of Norwalk, member of the South Norwalk Boat Club, long established in the city of Norwalk. Also a good friend, because he's he works for the Department of Transportation for the city of Norwalk, state of Connecticut. And he's a supervisor for them, and we can always use a good friend at the Department of Transportation. So I'm putting forward Mr. Donald Remsen. Do I have a motion? Mr. Frayer.
I'd like to speak to it. Don is, as the mayor just commented, He's a long standing voter, but I think he's well suited for this position on this commission. He's grown up in Norwalk, been a voter all his life. As a matter of fact, he owns 2 boats, which is, as my wife used to say, that's about two too many. And is a very active member of the South Norwalk Boat Club, and currently serves as their rear commodore. He graduated from Norwalk High School, so he's been here all his life. He works, as the mayor pointed out, he is the Connecticut DOT District 3 Maintenance Director, and oversees the infrastructure in not only Fairfield County, but also New Haven County. So quite an important job. He's also owns his own and owns and operates his own landscaping business for the past 25 years, just to keep himself busy. One important thing about him that we should all know, and I think which really serves him well, being on the Harbor Commission, is that in December 2018, Don received the Civilian Recognition Award for his assistance in preventing somebody from jumping off the Strepolino Bridge and committing suicide. So that's going above and beyond the call of duty. So I think he'll be he'll be a well-standing member of the Harbor Commission. So look forward to getting.
Thank you. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. Now I know that our town clerk is here. Mr. McQuaid has asked if because Mr. Remsen is a personal friend, as he is to all of us probably, if he would be able to administer the oath of office. And I said, absolutely. So if you'll step forward and do that right now. If you'd like to get in the picture, you could.
I'll take it.
That was easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Donald Remsen, I've been appointed as a member of the Harbor Management Commission in the city of Norwalk. I solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skills and judgment to help you God or upon the pains and penalties of Christ.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for your service.
Which one?
The one. He said no. The one is the one. Here. The one is it doesn't make a meeting. The one.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll move on the agenda and it's time for the mayor's remarks. I have a couple. One, this Saturday, we have the annual Touch a Truck open house at the Operations Center from 9 a.m. to 12. It's a great family fun experience where the children and adults have the opportunity to look at all the things that the city of Norwalk does, whether it's operations, whether it's police department, fire department, and it's always a wonderful experience for the families that attend. We get a lot of people down there. People are encouraged to bring non-perishable food items in support of the Open Door Shelter in Norwalk. And usually we get quite a bit. And if you've been to the Open Door Shelter, you realize how much they need these items to help them sustain and to help them take care of the people that are less fortunate than us. So also I announced the other day that we have we're embarking on a study with Silver Hills Hospital for a youth mental health gap analysis, during COVID. And before and since, there's been struggles for the young people in our city for a variety of reasons. And we know what we do well, but there's also things that we could do better. So we're funding a gap analysis to determine what things are missing when we try to help the young people in the city of Norwalk cope with the things that they're facing, things that we probably never imagined when we were younger. So we're very excited about that. In recent years, we've invested through the generosity of the city and for the council, over $1.5 million in mental health issues for the young people in our city. And we need to continue that to make sure that we allow them to succeed and to move forward in a manner which we would like to have. Also, I don't think I need to remind anyone, the general election is just around the corner. We see it in the paper and on daily, and on TV. I can't wait for it to be over. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows that there will be 14 days of early voting prior to Election Day. To vote early, Norwalk residents can come to the Norwalk City Hall from Monday, October 21st through Sunday, November 3rd, anytime from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's the guy right there that's going to be handling it. October 14th. Okay, I said October 21st, right? Okay, so it's October 14th it starts. Okay. Please note, City Hall will have extended early voting hours. And you can also register to vote when you come to City Hall. We always talk about voting, and I'm just going to use a plug here. Voting is so important. There's so many people going back all the way to the Revolutionary War that sacrificed so much to make sure that we had the right to vote in free elections. And people, if you look at 50,000 registered voters in the city of Norwalk, and we usually end up with somewhere around 34, 35,000. Then in the mayoral elections, we have usually, if we get 16,000 voters, we're lucky. So the people that sacrifice so much to give us the right to vote, to me, it's almost an insult to them and disrespectful. Register to vote, go out and vote, learn about the candidates. I don't care who you vote for. Just learn about the candidates, what they bring, and vote for the person that you think brings what you want to local election, state election, or federal election. So I'll get off my bully pulpit now but I think it's so critically important. So thank you. Next, funding from extreme rain and historic flooding. On Friday, Governor Lamont received confirmation from the White House that President Joe Biden approved the state's request for a major disaster declaration in response to the extreme rains that occurred August 18th. By approving this declaration, President Biden authorized federal funding to help individuals rebuild and recover from the storm. You can find information. The funding will be available for affected individuals in Fairfield, Litchfield, and New Haven counties. Residents can go online, apply for disaster assistance at www.disasterassistance.gov and by calling FEMA. Next, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow, actually, to open up the sidewalks on the Row-8 Avenue entrance from Pinckney Park to the Row-8 Railroad Station. We've gotten some wonderful feedback, and I know Mr. Freyer and Ms. Shanahan have gotten some wonderful comments as well. It makes it a safe trip from that area all the way to the Row-8 and Railroad Station. And I know last night, if those of you who were present during our public hearing for the budget, which I again applaud the council, applaud the Charter Revision Commission for having public announcements or public meeting before we even start the budget process so we can hear from the public what's important to them. And last night, two things became very apparent. One is the Silvermine School and the dual language program, which we all know is very important. And I know Dr. Estrella is working very hard to make sure that that continues and that they continue with the proper staffing. But also it was transportation, mobility, and parking. Now we have done so many sidewalks in the city of Norwalk, so many bike lanes, and we're continuing to do that. So I thank the public for coming out and reminding us how important those things are. So again, tomorrow, we're going to be cutting the ribbon for the new sidewalk between Pinckney Park and the Rowayton train station. So now I will turn the meeting over to our council president, Ms. Yao.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under council business, the first thing I'd like to report is that one of the things that we wanted to do as a council and to make our meetings better for residents who speak different languages. And so we are happy to announce that it is now live, that we have our live council meetings going on in different languages. And Ms. Miljoski Eitner is actually testing that right now. And so we are really excited about that. The next part of that process would be to make those city council meetings available in different languages via YouTube after the meetings are done. But to have our live meetings available in several languages is an accomplishment that I think we should all be proud of. So thank you to the staff who made that happen. Thank you to everybody who had input in making that happen. So on to the consent calendar, which I will be reading. 7A, Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Affairs. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to approve the use of Washington Street Plaza and immediate surrounding grounds by City of Norwalk for their Halloween night fair to be held on Saturday, October 26, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Rain date on Sunday, October 27th, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Setup time by 8 a.m. Saturday would tear down by 12 a.m. midnight. Approximately 6,000 people. A2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with Alzheimer's Association for the use of Calf Pasture Beach and immediate surrounding grounds for their Walk to End Alzheimer's to begin on Sunday, October 27th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Setup time by 6 a.m. Saturday would tear down by Sunday, 1:30 p.m., approximately 2,500 people. 7B, Finance and Claims. B1, Claims Committee Report dated September 2024. B3, Monthly Tax Collectors Report dated August 2024. B4, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gov Connection, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $385,223.54 for net distribution and access switches, account numbers noted, City Technology. B5, requesting a special capital appropriation in the amount of $100,000 for the purchase of a replacement boat for the harbor master to manage and oversee the operation of the Norwalk Harbor, Norwalk Islands, and a portion of the Long Island Sound, and authorize the issue of bonds, notes, or temporary notes in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to finance said appropriation. Account number noted, harbor replacement boat. B6, requesting a reduction in the amount of $100,000 to the appropriation in account number noted under Arts and Cultural Plan. Deauthorize bonds in the amount of $100,000. B7, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments needed to apply for and receive pursuant to Public Act 24-81 from the Connecticut Secretary of State a grant in the amount of $23,726.31 for the Registrar of Voters to implement early voting in the city of Norwalk. This grant will be in place for the period 7/1/24 through 6/30/2025. B8. Resolution, approve ARPA transfer request in the following amounts and in conformance with Common Council approval of items 2A and 2B on the October 24th, 2023 agenda. as noted. Business COVID assistance in the amount of $85,000. Administrator for a ARPA in the amount of $32,517. Move that to mobility, sidewalk, and bike in the amount of $117,517. 7C. And
E1,
well, that's all.
okay.
7E, Economic and Community Development. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents for submission of the PY 49 caper to HUD. E2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement for a 5-year extension of the contract designating the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency as the administrator of the city's annual CDBG entitlement grant. 7E3, authorize the purchase of a 2024 Pac-Man landing craft for the harbor master from Munson Boats in an amount not to exceed $198,000, $149 via sole source procurement, account number noted. 7E4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with ARC Document Solutions LLC for document digitization and cataloging in an amount not to exceed $284,995.50. Account number noted. 7F, land use and building management. 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to acquire 6 Butler Street, Norwalk, Connecticut, in the amount of $1,400,000 plus standard closing costs, account number noted. 7F2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a license agreement for use of 2 rooms at 3 Belden Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut, for 3 years with 2 options to extend for a period of 1 year each for licensing fee of $4.50 per square foot. 7, now we're moving on to 8. I think that concludes the consent.
I think so.
We've heard the consent calendar as read. All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous, Mayor.
Thank you. That brings us to 7B2, I believe, Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7B2 reads, narrative on tax collection dated September 2024. There are no votes or actions to be taken on this item. However, we would like to provide the opportunity for our tax collector, Lisa Barazzarelli, as Lisa B, as I call her, to provide an update on our fiscal year end tax collection rate, where we almost obtained 99%, and the very successful recent tax sale. So, you know, all of our departments do an outstanding job each and every day. But we would like to take this opportunity to highlight the work and achievements that are being done in the tax collector's office. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rilling. Thank you, Councilman Burnett. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit about tax collections, which fund between 86 to 90% of our operating revenue every year. Every month, we present a report to the Finance and Claims Committee, which is also subsequently shared with you, which is basically a year-to-date, fiscal year-to-date report of where we stand with our collections. We also provide a narrative that fleshes out the numbers on the report, but also gives you a heads up on what some of our enforcement activities are. Councilman Burnett noted that our current collection rate for the end of last fiscal year was, as he said, 98.94%. Awful close to 99, but it wasn't quite there. But that is actually in excess of what the finance department and the budget office had projected. So we were able to allow the city to end the fiscal year basically with a surplus, even without looking at anybody's spending or money that they were able to give back. It's very important to keep that current collection rate high, and it doesn't just come about by sending bills, it comes about through enforcement. And I have to take the opportunity while I'm in front of you to just detail a little bit of what that means. It means if you don't pay your motor vehicle taxes, you're not able to register your car at the DMV. So we have individuals every day coming in to pay their taxes because of that. It means if you have past due business personal property taxes that are more than a year old, the health department will not allow you to renew your health permit. If you have delinquent real estate taxes or sewer use charges, you will not be able to obtain a building permit from the building department. If you owe past due taxes and you work for the Board of Ed or are a city employee, we send a demand notice to ask you to pay, and we will garnish your pay if you do not. These are the types of things that we depend on the administration to support when we pursue them. And it's important that we pursue them consistently and fairly, and that we not make exceptions for folks. And I understand how difficult it can be as a council person who is elected to get the types of calls that some of you get from individuals who can't register a car or whose property is part of the tax sale. But the reason we achieve that 98% rate is because we are consistent and persistent. So I extend my gratitude to you, to the administration, to this council, to past councils, to the Board of Estimate, to everybody in the administration for allowing us to do the work that we are charged with doing. So that's a little bit about how that 98% gets to where it is. What it ends up meaning is that the Board of Estimate, when they set the tax rate, they can set a lower mill rate if our collection rate is higher, because we know that for whatever reason, some individuals are not going to be able to pay their taxes on time. So when they set the mill rate, there is an allowance for what we will not collect in that fiscal year. But the higher I can keep that current collection rate, the smaller the allowance is. And that allows the Board of Estimate to set the mill rates as low as they can set them, which is basically tax relief for every taxpayer, for everybody who gets a tax bill of any type. So that is our perspective on the collection rate and why it's so important. With regard to the tax sale, we do a tax sale every 2 or 3 years. And we did this one in September. We started working on it actually in November of 2023. And we started with 225 properties. And by the time the sale occurred, 6 property owners filed for bankruptcy protection, so you take them out. But there were only 7 that were left, and all the others paid between November and the date of the sale, which was September 9th. Those 7 did sell. And the owners do have a 6-month redemption period where they can retain their properties. And I explained that a little bit in the narrative about how tax sale redemption works. But my main point would be, we do tax sale not to try to transfer ownership of property, but to enforce collection and to compel payment, in the same way that we deny a motor vehicle registration or a health permit. The whole idea is to get our taxpayers to bring their taxes current. The sale is very efficient. It's very successful. This was our 10th sale since 2003. And with our 10 sales, we have brought in, just on the sales, more than $49 million. This sale ended up bringing in, we targeted originally 4.5 million, and we are bringing in 6.6 million on this sale. That again is enabling the Board of Estimate now and in the future to set a lower mill rate for everybody. I have to take the liberty of pointing out that we do our tax sales in-house, meaning my staff and I do the work. We do not do the title search, but we do everything else, all the mailings, all the legal notices. We go out and take pictures of properties. We have a website where an individual can look up the properties. They can drill down, see the field card, see what is due, track the entire process. We do all that in-house, which saves the city money, but it also saves the individuals who are part of the sale, who are already having a hard time paying their back taxes. I'm not going to turn that work over to someone else who's going to charge fees that are then going to have to be borne by that taxpayer. So if we can do the work ourselves, we do it. That's how I was taught. And it's my hope that that will continue in the future because I think it's a hallmark of our effort to achieve professionalism and efficiency in our operations. So that's our narrative and our collection rate in a nutshell. And I'd be happy to field any questions that you have. You do get my reports every month, but I don't get the opportunity to see you that often. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Before the questions, I would just like to really acknowledge the work that you do in the tax collector's office. I think we may be the only city in the state of Connecticut or municipality that does our own in-house tax sales, and that's a tribute to Lisa and her team. What would be the percentage if we outsource that?
It's, I believe in some cases, if they hire a private attorney, it's up to like $5,000 a property to do that. So
Again,
that's
so-
all extra money for the person to bear.
So the work that you do really saves the taxpayers of the city of Norwalk a tremendous amount of money. And it's a hard thing that you do, and I know that. But the fact that you started out with 225 properties and only ended up with a few shows that the work that you did. So kudos to you and your team. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to echo what the mayor said, and just to say, you have one of the hardest jobs in City Hall, and you do it very, very well, and you make it look very easy. And that is a real tribute to your and your team's work. I just had one question about tax sale proceeds. Where, so you said that, say, for example, in this year's tax sale, it's expected to bring in $6.6 million, which is amazing. Do those funds go into the general fund? Where do those funds go, and how do we as, as policymakers track that money?
That's a really good question. It goes into the general fund, except for what we collect on behalf of the blight department, because we have started collecting blight fees through the tax sale process. And in the future, we will also collect zoning violation fees because the legislation was just changed effective October 1st. So those go to the blight enforcement division. But it is considered just like regular tax revenue. So if you look at the budget, you'll see every year we budget a certain amount for current collections, current interest, and then a certain amount for past due, tax, interest, and other fees. So all that money gets funneled back, and it allows you to make the kind of policies that you find are important, like your budget hearing said, what people want you to spend money on, and use our limited resources as you see fit.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And the overbid, just so you know, if a property sells for more than what we're due, we don't get to keep that.
We do or don't?
Do not.
Do not.
All we get is what we are owed.
Well, you said exactly what I wanted to say, and so did you, Councilman Goldstein. But I just think it's worth saying again, and I'm glad Councilmember Burnett brought me here to just say this again as a reminder for people of the work that we do. And it's not just about getting every dollar from people. The fact that we're really trying to help people who are already burdened and stressed out over just the whole tax process, this whole process. So I appreciate you and what your department does. And I hope, that I know there's going to come a day when Lisa B is no longer in the building.
Oh, no, that's not going to happen.
And there may be someone else that looks like you and that, but we hope that, as you say, that way of thinking about the people continues. And so I just really, really, really appreciate that. And we need to hear that from time to time. And so we can actually say that to residents too. Like, listen, we understand it's a hard time, not having the funds and just going through that, but we've done the best that we can do to keep those funds down and that burden down. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Nijinsky Eichner.
I want to add my thanks as well, and also ask if you can clarify a couple things that I think people sometimes get confused about. So you said that the city doesn't keep more than we're owed, correct? Unlike some other states where I think people have read about problems that have been happening in other states. Could you just explain and clarify for folks what happens to the remainder of the value when the
Sure.
city has been paid?
Sure. There's a Supreme Court, US Supreme Court case that was recently decided that affects tax sale proceeds in other states, unlike Connecticut. And it has to do with municipalities or townships, having the homeowner lose their equity in their property. But the way the Connecticut statute is written, say there's $50,000 in taxes due. And we offer that property at a public auction and the bidding goes up to $300,000. That is what the bidder pays. We take that $300,000, we take our money out, we pay off all the taxes. And then we wait for a 6-month period, during which time the owner or anybody who has a lien, a COA interest on that property can come and say, I'm ready to redeem this property. I want to keep my property. If they're redeeming, they don't have to come up with $300,000 because that wouldn't be fair. They have to come up with the original bid, which is what we were owed. They have to come up with interest on the $300,000 and the amount of overbid we have in a separate bank account and it goes back to the bidder. So one of two things will happen with the overbid. Either it will go back to the bidder as part of the redemption, or if the owner fails to redeem and they lose their property, we file the deed in the name of the bidder 6 months later. We turn that overbid over to the Superior Court. We have 10 days to turn it over. We send a letter to the court detailing who the owner is, who all the lien holders are. We send a letter to everybody stating we have turned the overbid over to the court. They have to make application to the court and a judge decides who is entitled to that overbid, the owner in most cases, or someone else who has a lien on that property. So that's how it works. But in any event, we do not get that overbid. We get our taxes and we are made whole. And either it will go to the bidder or it will go to either the owner or a party in interest of the property.
Thank you. I think that's really important to, again, further the narrative that you're pointing out here about our care being fair to the taxpayers. Our sense that everyone is obligated to pay their fair share and we're not trying to make money on this.
We don't ever make money. No, we don't. No, we don't ever make money. We do recover our fees because the sale does cost. So there are legal notices, there are mailings. We pay for security at the sale and things like that. So we bill that into the sale and we recover that because really the on-time taxpayer should not have to pay that either. So we bill those fees in and we collect them.
You know, I really want to appreciate it. It's such a fair and efficient process. And again, it's a tremendous amount of work. I'm very grateful and very proud that we can say that about our process. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, I'd like to thank Councilmember Burnett for inviting Ms. Biagirelli to be here tonight, and it's really good to see you here. And I appreciate your clear, concise explanation of all of the work that you do. You are in a unique position to be probably by the public, one of the most respected members of City Hall, despite the fact that you are out there persistently, trying to get money from people. So I'm just really, really impressed with that. And I have a lot of respect for you, for your ability to do that. And I can make a personal attestment to her persistence. She found my daughter 12 years later. My daughter had a car registered and, she was living in an apartment before she went off to graduate school and moved to Denver. As you all know, she lives in Denver. She, all of a sudden I get this phone call, Mom, who's this Lisa? But she couldn't pronounce your name. Who's this person trying to get tax money from me? And so she owed her, 1 year of car taxes for a car she had before she moved, and nothing ever came to my house, because she wasn't living at my house at the time. So that was a funny story.
It was a funny story.
Yeah.
I remember it very well.
Yeah, we had some good conversations.
And it goes to show, even if you're a council person, you pay your taxes.
Everybody pays tax, even the mayor
Yep.
and the council, everybody. Yes, that is true. Thank you.
But this item does not require a vote. And I would say, thank you again, because that takes the burden off some of the other taxpayers if there's a arrearage of taxes. It's unfortunate that Connecticut has to rely so heavily on property taxes. It's a very difficult thing to tax a person who's living in a home and maybe living on a fixed income. And we're always hoping that there could be some sort of a tax reform that may change the structure in the state of Connecticut so that the homeowner doesn't bear the burden of all the city services. If you ask 1,000 people, they want to pay taxes, 1,000 will say no, but 1,000 will also say, I understand I have to. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I believe that brings us to 7C1. Am I correct? And that's Ms. Shanahan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to turn this one over to Mr. Jalen Seed, as this matter relates to his district.
Mr. Seed.
So C on one, approve resolution concerning sports tech venues, Inc. doing business as Winners, 24 Burnell Boulevard, Norwalk, Connecticut, pursuant to General Statute 12-574 AC. Resolution reads Sports Tech Venues, Inc. doing business as Winners, approving off-track pari-mutuel wagering on Sundays. Whereas Sports Tech Venues, Inc. doing business as Winners currently operates an off-track betting facility at 24 Burnell Boulevard in Norwalk, Connecticut. Whereas Winners is not currently open on Sundays for pari-mutuel wagering. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 12-574 AC, the Department of Consumer Protection and the Gaming Policy Board permit Winners to operate in Norwalk on Sundays for pari-mutuel wagering only upon approval of the legislative body of the municipality in which such facility is located. And whereas it has been determined that the city has no objection to Winners operating pari-mutuel wagering on Sundays, and that such operations are likely to increase tax revenue for the city and create additional jobs within the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council that Sports Tech Venues, Inc. doing business as Winners is hereby authorized to be open on Sundays for pari-mutuel wagering at its location at 24 Burnell Boulevard in Norwalk, Connecticut, pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 12-574 AC. This resolution is effective upon enactment. I'd like to move this item and speak to it.
Mr. Seed has moved the item and wishes to speak. You have the floor.
The Sports Tech has been in Norwalk for quite some time. This is something that we have to do. Almost every city that has a venue like this has already approved it. But Norwalk is almost the last one, if not the last one. We check with the police department and also the mayor's office. There's no objection because Sports Tech has been a great neighbor in that area. But with the growth of like technology and phones, people could place a bet just on their phone, even on Sunday. So it really places a disadvantage to venues like this who can't participate in betting, even though somebody could actually go into their venue if they were open and place the bet on their phones. This is also important, like Ms. Shanahan said, this is in District A and also the Wall Street area where the city is investing so much money for growth. And with that growth, it's important that private and public take part of that and have the growth. Sports Tech is not only saying that they're going to create more jobs here, I believe it's 4 jobs, but also there are going to be they're going to be revitalizing the storefront of that area, which needs a touch up. And we're also doing Yankee Doodle that's right across the street. So much growth in that area. So this is really important to give them a chance to be successful, hire people and really contribute to the growth that's happening in that area. So I'll probably move this item.
Ms. Ayers, I know it's in your district as well. Did you wish to comment at all?
No, I do not. No.
Discussion, comments, questions? Ms. Dunn.
So I'm the person who probably is opposed for this. I feel like we're here to really look at everything within the city as part of the council and look at what's best for the city. I'm not, the moral compass of the city, but I do think that for me personally, weighing the pros and cons of opening something like this on Sunday, I know that they may be a good business in the city. I personally don't think that it moves the city in a positive direction. If they're gonna fix the storefront, that's great. They should do that anyway. I don't think it's the best for our community or our people, in my opinion. That's just me. So I'm gonna be voting now. Thank you.
Further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all in favor of the item? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries with one in opposition. Now that brings us to Ms. Ayers for item 7D1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary with Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance Center, Inc. for continued in-home mental health and family support services for public school children under the Community Service Department for the period July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 in the amounts of $200,000 account noted and $100,000 account noted. Can I move the item and speak to it, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Norwalk is a city rich in resources, but yet we often find ourselves wanting to do more without more resources. Time after time, I have sat in this seat and have heard many residents complain that the city, this body, should do more to address the mental health that many students face. Budget season after budget season, we have heard the pleas of parents, students, and staff stating the need. An additional hurdle is many of our students have a language barrier and cannot find adequate services to receive mental health. Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance provides clinical services to our Latinx community that are seeking bilingual therapeutic options. I have a background in therapeutic services and case management. This knowledge equips me to understand that dealing with high needs population is costly and labor intensive. The Community Service Committee heard a full presentation last week at the committee level, and we would like to thank Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance for this partnership. As highlighted by the mayor in his remarks, we are also partnering with other community providers for a youth gap analysis because we do understand that we must make sure that we are reaching people where they are. We want to make sure as a city we are spending our money wisely. As we continue to partner with community providers, we acknowledge that this is not a quick fix, nor is it a Band-Aid, but it is a process that we all have to partner in and believe with to address our most vulnerable citizens. This in-house service that Mid-Fairfield provides is servicing not only youth, but their families. Can you imagine being a parent with a child that is having a mental health episode or struggling with severe mental health and feeling helpless and not knowing how to help them? And on top of that, you have a language barrier. This amount of money helps us serve this population, helps us serve these children, and helps us serve these families. I hope my colleagues will vote to improve and give access to these students and help them find the necessary mental health services that they continue to need. I would like to thank the city staff as well as our partners for working together, finding and identifying new sources of income to address multiple situations that are going on in the city with our young people and other vulnerable populations. Our chief of staff for our community service, Chief Lamont Daniels, is here and will take any questions that the Common Council has at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. Does anybody have any questions from Mr. Daniels?
I do have some opening remarks I think probably can respond to your questions, if I may. Madam President, Mayor, I'm not sure who to address to get permission to.
You have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. And good evening, everyone. For those that are watching, my name is Lamont Daniels. I serve as your Chief of Community Services. In that role, I oversee the city's health department, human services department, and the library. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight regarding this important action item that is before you. I'm here in the capacity as Chief of Community Services to request your authorization to continue our contract to fund Mid-Fairfield's Latinx Integrated Link program. This initiative, administered by my department, is now in its 4th year of partnership with the city and continues to address the critical mental health needs and care coordination needs of Spanish-speaking residents, our school-age residents who are new to Norwalk, many of whom have experienced significant trauma coming into the United States. While I recognize that there are concerns about continuing this funding, I would like to take the opportunity to underscore several key points for your consideration. First, we have strategically decreased the city's financial contribution this budget year, following the original plan to reduce public investment as the program secures philanthropic and private funding. I am pleased to report that under Dr. Gail Melanson leadership, Link has successfully expanded its teams and funding sources, which is a testament to its sustainability. However, the city's $300,000 allocation remains critical as it enables ongoing provision of these essential services that was approved in our budget. Second, despite the decreased funding, the need for these services has not diminished. The data shows that many new families with children coming into Norwalk are struggling with severe and complex trauma, and this program plays a pivotal role in helping them heal. Link delivers trauma-informed, cultural-sensitive care and works within the homes, the schools, community settings to maximize accessibility for our residents. And third, I'd like to address a concern that has been raised regarding the reach of the funding and whether it serves a small population. While it may seem that way, the children and families who access these services often face severe, and I've noted already, severe and complex trauma, which requires intensive, specialized care. According to best practices by the National Association of Social Workers, caseloads for high complexity cases, such as those involving trauma, should generally be smaller, typically ranging from 10 to 15 cases per clinician to allow for the individualized attention these families need. This funding supports not only direct services for these children and their families, but also ensures that we maintain a skilled workforce equipped to meet the intensity of the needs of this population and enables the program to adhere to clinical standards, ensuring both quality and impact in the care provided. I'm almost finished. Finally, I want to emphasize the strength of this partnership with Mid-Fairfield. And through our Human Services Director, Anna Vivian Estrella, we are in constant contact with Dr. Melanson's team, reviewing data and services to ensure that they are using our money fiscally sound and they are meeting the specialized need that has been set forth in the contract. And we are proud to know that the outcomes and the collaboration that make this work possible is happening. So I'll stop there and thank you for this time. Dr. Gail Melanson is with me to answer any specific questions. You can come up that you may have for the specificity of the actual program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Wiggins had his hand up. I don't know. It's now down. Did you wish to make a comment or a question, Mr. Wiggins?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions for Dr. Melanson or Mr. Daniels? Ms. Smith?
No questions, just a few comments, if I may. First, Mr. Daniels, thank you again for your extraordinary leadership of the Community Services Department, your vision, and your, the coordination of services that you have brought to the city is just remarkable. You look after all of our residents, our most vulnerable. And so, from the bottom of my heart, really, I thank you for that. I would like to thank Ms. Ayers for her comments. I concur with absolutely everything you said. These programs are so important. And Gail, I would like to thank you also for all the work that Mid-Fairfield has done so well for so many years to serve our kids. And so I know this is a fairly new program, but having been in the schools, as we saw those young students come in from over the border who was so horribly traumatized. The work you have been doing with that population that's hard work. It's really hard work. And the data that you provided to us at the community services meeting was really great to see, really important that, you're tracking, you're seeing improvements, and you continue on to track these students and their families long after they're out of the program, just to make sure they're moving along. So this is some of the most important work we do in the city. So I want to thank you all. And obviously, I fully support this.
Thank you.
Comments, questions? Mr. Goldstein?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I am dumbfounded that there even would be a controversy about this. I mean, a program like this serves a crucial need for Norwalk families. Norwalk is a diverse city of people of all different walks of life who come from different countries, who have different language challenges, economic challenges. It's our job, I believe, as a councilman and as frankly, just a resident of the city, to try and do our best to meet those needs in the best way possible. It's so great that we have people so capable of meeting the need that is always persistent, and you guys are equally persistent in your determination to combat those in the best way possible, to grow Norwalk and to help improve the lives of the people who live here. So I would hate to feel, just based on sort of the understanding of your remarks, that there would be any controversy about this, because this is a crucial item for our city. Obviously, we always want to make an effort to bring in public-private partnerships and get donors who is not just all on the city's property tax burden, but the policy priority comes first. And this is an incredibly important priority. So I will be wholeheartedly voting for this.
And if I could just say that the private philanthropy was so impressed with the city's commitment to this population, which is how we were able to receive additional funding, that they wanted to invest in this because they saw the city's investment in the population and in the vulnerable families and providing this much needed service. Absolutely, yes. I mean, the funding helps us to grow and to recognize the need.
Mr. Wiggins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want us to start off by saying thank you all, and thank you, Lamont. You did a really good job in explaining the overview of why the numbers are so low and so on and so forth. I will be in favor, and I will be voting for this. But I will say this: I did speak to some constituents that talked about Mid-Fairfield and its services and a lack of services, and being turned away because there wasn't no space and they didn't have any place else to go, right? So that's one thing I would mention. But to your point, Lamont, I know how critical it is to deal with a handful, because you don't want to take on more just to say you're taking on more, right? You want to really get the job done. So I can appreciate that. The only thing I would say is, how can we really, if there is no more room, if no one else could be accepted to receive these services, how can we do a better job at referring to different organizations or partners that can ultimately help serve these families that can't receive the services?
So I would just like to clarify that we are not at capacity with this program. We continue to accept new referrals. We have not turned away anyone in the LINK program because we were, at capacity. Certain schools may have limits that of the number of students at each school. So they may have to wait until an opening opens up, but we are not turning away any of these families, all of the families. And they're available to get care coordination and clinical services. If the clinical services, if there's not an immediate opening, we start with the care coordination services, start to work with the family, and the moment that the clinician has an opening, then we do start with the clinical services. But at this point in time, there's openings for all of our schools right now.
Comments, discussion? Mr. Dilsheim.
Very briefly, I want to add my thanks and also really add my appreciation for this model. Chief Daniels, but I think in general, the city is doing an excellent job at trying to find partnerships so that we can direct people to the services that we need. So rather than the city trying to provide all those services, we can actually connect people to their expertise. I really want to emphasize, and it is a plug for your community services hub, right? The idea that there is no wrong door, come into us and we will help you find the right door. So I really appreciate Nick Fairfield for being a really important part of how we get people to those services. But just encouraging people, come and we will find the right place for you. So thank you both for your work.
Ms. Ayers?
Can I just say, it's important, particularly when we're talking about service to our young people, to understand the study that we just had the press conference for with Silver Hill Hospital will kind of answer the question that Councilman Wiggins had. The study is to tell us, the policymakers, what's working, what's out there, what is the capacity. And so once we have that knowledge, you are then better informed to make policies and to allocate money and to support some of the initiatives that comes out of community service. I took the opportunity to say that because sometimes we don't connect dots. And it's important in this manner to connect the dots to see that one thing is flowing into the other thing. We are not, and when I say we, the city workers, us as elected officials, we cannot solve all the problems of the world. Darn it, we can't solve all the problems of the city. I wish we could. But if we are diligent in trying to make sure that resources are making the needs, we can at least make Norwalk the best city it could possibly be. Myself and Chief Daniels, we have a lot of conversations on a roadmap and where we should go in different aspects of everything that falls under this committee. And I have to say, Mr. Mayor, we did a good thing when we hired Chief Daniels because he is a visionary, as someone says. And when I'm right here, he's already right there. He's way ahead of me and saying, okay, Nicole, look 2, 3, 4 years, and how is that going to unfold? And so particularly in community service, we have to constantly looking not right what's in front of us, but what's gonna unfold 2 and 3 years later so that we can be able to service our community. I have continued to say that the community service department of the city of Norwalk is the people's department. It's the department that is here to meet the need of the people. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, and a final thing, just to, add to that, looking forward 2, 3 years ahead, whatever, this is not a problem that is going to get better. Our kids are in crisis. And it, it needs to, where there's never going to be enough resources, right? Because our kids need so much. So we have to do everything we can. Everything we can.
Before I call for the vote, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see
I have
your
a
hand.
couple, I have a question. So you actually cover more than just Norwalk, right? It's, so residents outside of the city of Norwalk.
Yes, we cover the greater Norwalk area.
The agency does.
Yeah. It's very helpful to know that there is capacity, you're not at capacity. I know being at the high school is just one of the schools. I could probably come up with 150 kids just in one school. That's just one high school. So it's a lot. I have heard a little bit about people calling to get supports and saying, oh, we don't have, room right now. So I'm gonna push back on that and send them your way again and just help support them come to you. So that's really good to know. So I think that's really important. I think a lot of our kids or families that, especially undocumented, they have a really hard time speaking up, asking for help. And a lot of times it's like asking a lot of questions to get them to ask for what they need. So I really, it breaks my heart if somebody asks for help and they feel like they've hit a roadblock. So I think it's really important to remove all the roadblocks possible. So if you're willing to do that, I'm with you. There you go.
Just to, yeah, definitely. And just to clarify, we have many programs at Mid-Fairfield. So some programs, like our most intensive program, our extended day treatment program, for example, has a wait, and that, people are waiting 3 months. It's very small capacity for the most intensive kids, children with needs from 5 to 12 years old. That one has a wait. We have so many different programs that when someone is referred to a program that has a wait, we'll say, this program has a wait, but you should go to this program. So we have the LINK program that services the Spanish speaking population, but we also have clinicians in all of the schools that service English or Spanish speaking students. So.
And how are you collaborating with the schools? I know that we have some push-in agencies that are really good. I know in our festival.
We've worked really hard to form our collaborative relationships. We have Robin Gredinger is our liaison. We meet with her once a month. Our staff meets with the school staff on a weekly basis. So we've actually, worked really hard to form those collaborative relationships because that's crucial. We want to make sure we're getting the students most in need.
Yeah, gotta scale up.
So before I call the vote, again, thank you so much. We have a wonderful partnership with Mid-Fairfield. Lamond, I can't say enough about what you've done. One of the best things that I think we've done was when we restructured our government to make it more efficient, and we brought in a community services department that didn't exist before. And you've taken it to a whole new level. And like I said, our partnership is absolutely amazing. We have family navigators that go out into the community to bring help to people. We have with the police department embedded social workers who go out and try to help people. So I think as a city, we're probably doing more than virtually anybody else. And we recognize the need, and a lot of it, the thanks goes to the council, goes to Lamond for recognizing that. So again, thank you. Now I'll take a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we go to the council president, I believe.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're at 8, resolutions from Common Council. 8A, appointment and duration of the 2024-2025 Norwalk Charter Revision Commission. 1, whereas pursuant to CGS 7-88B and 111-2 of the Charter, at its meeting on September 9, 2024, the Common Council of the City of Norwalk voted to initiate action to amend the Charter of the City of Norwalk. And whereas the Common Council seeks to establish and appoint a Charter Revision Commission in accordance with the provisions of CGS Statute 7-90, 2024-2025 Charter Revision Commission or Commission. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Norwalk that A, pursuant to CGS 7-90, 190A, and the following 9 members are appointed to serve as members of the 2024-2025 Commission. And they are as follows: Joe Bennett, Edwin Camacho, Jim Clark, Carl Dickens, Tyler Fairbarn, Doug Hempstead, John Levin, Richard McQuaid, and Tanya Rhodes Smalls. Not more than 1/3 of these appointees hold any other public office in the city of Norwalk, and not more than a bare majority of appointees are members of one political party. B, pursuant to CGS 7-190B, The commission appointed herein shall be authorized to consider such changes and other items and matters as it deems desirable or necessary to improve the governance of the city. C, pursuant to CGS 7-190B, the commission shall submit its draft report no later than May 30th, 2025, in order to assure that the final report, proposed charter, and questions will be submitted in order to be considered at referendum in the general election of 2025. D, pursuant to CGS 7-190C, the 2024-2025 commission shall terminate upon acceptance or rejection of this final report by the Common Council. So
John,
remove the item.
the item, you wish to talk about it?
So this is the second phase of many to come of the charter revision. But these are, I would say that this is probably one of the more important sessions that we're going to embark upon, because it's going to deal with issues of possibly the budget process, the governance of the mayor and the Common Council, our roles and responsibilities, and some other things that how we govern the city. And so as we consider this, we have a balanced commission here of 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans, and all these folks who are very committed to the city of Norwalk. And as we move forward with this, I would ask that we all support this, and I'm sure that we do. We're all in agreement with the folks that we put on with this charge for this part of the charter revision. So I don't have anything else other to say than thank you to everybody. This has been an experience for all of us as council people, but this is something that is definitely needed for the city moving forward. And as we grow as a city, we need to be looking at the rules that govern how we manage. And it's long overdue that we address these issues. I don't know if any other.
Comments or discussion? Mr. Josie Eichner?
Just very briefly, to add to your remarks, Council President. I really appreciate the time and attention that this council has already given to our 3 forums that we've had to really kind of lay the groundwork. I will note that many of the appointees, in fact, have been attendees. People recognize some of the names from folks we've seen at the forums, which really were a great opportunity to just begin the thinking process as to how we want to, as the council president said, modernize our governance, think about what we need best for the most efficient and best government for the city of Norwalk. And I appreciate the mayor's comments calling out the budget hearing last night, which again was a revision that came in the last charter revision that I think was well attended and well received, and I think is the sort of opportunity that the Charter Revision Commission creates to think about public access and engagement. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the recommendations from the commission going forward. So I really, again, I appreciate the enormous amount of attention this has already gotten, and I look forward to working with them as we develop this.
And another thing there, one of the things that we really need to talk about, and we've started the discussions as council members, one of the things that we have to do, our charge is to really give a guide and a direction to the commission members. Although they are free to look at other things, I think as council people who've been here, we know and we are experiencing some of the things that we feel should be updated or changed. And one of the things that we've done, as Ms. Nojelski-Eichner said, we have people on this commission who have been in this position. And I think we were trying to be very strategic about the folks who are on this commission. And so I think we have a good balance of age, perspective, and experience. And I would say that all the people on this are clear thinkers, they're rational people, and I think that this will be a very telling, and yet productive time on this commission. And so that's what we're really looking for, to really get the work done that needs to be done. So we're not done yet as council members with this. And I suspect that this will probably be the commission that a lot of us attend and have a lot of input on and in. And I think we need to do that. That is our. So I don't know if anyone else has any, ma'am.
It's done.
I wholeheartedly, I love this commission. I think everybody is so thoughtful. I'd like to say thank you to all of them that have agreed to step up. I would say thank you to Darlene for all the work. I know making those phone calls, trying to make a list like that, everybody involved. I think it's really exciting that this group of people are really thoughtful, and I'm really excited to hear their different perspectives on how things could be made better, or, you know, slight changes, or how things are working well too. So thank you so much. It's great.
I'm going to stop talking, but I have to say something about having Ms. Dunn. So I have to say too, I think, you know, as Ms. Dunn being the one representative from the Republican Party, which means she's everywhere, she's everyone.
I just want, not a Republican.
Independent party. Whatever party you are a party of one right now, but you are actually a party of all of us. And I have to say that your input, we do our best to listen to everyone and engage and try to be inclusive. And so Heather has had a lot of input too, and I hope we've done the best that we could with the folks that we selected. So thank you, Heather, too. And thank you, Nora.
And I really truly thank you to these 9 people for stepping up.
Yeah,
We know how much work it was last time. We know it will be well work this time, and we are really grateful.
It was a lot of arm twisting, but it's okay.
Before I call the vote, you know, since 1913, this charter has virtually remained unchanged. Times change, situations change. And one thing I think is noteworthy here is we have put together a process where this charter will continue to be reviewed down through the years. There are going to be requirements of the future councils to do certain things, to look at the charter, see where we can make some improvements, see what the situation is at any given time. This is our Constitution. This is our Bible, if you will. And so we need to make sure that it's always up to date and that people are always being served in the city of Norwalk by the governance of the city of Norwalk. And we need to make changes where change is necessary. So again, thank you to the council. I know, Ms. Young, you were in my office how many times during the past couple of weeks? What can we do? How can we get this person, that person, and so forth? And, you know, I think we put together a really good team, a really good charter revision commission who understand the charter. People have been here for a very long time. Doug Henstead, my goodness. He's been around almost since God. And really, he knows the charter inside and out. I'll never forget the words of a former and only independent mayor of the city of Norwalk, Jenny Cave. Many times she said, read the charter, know the charter. And she could recite that charter like it was the back of her hand, even though it was very complex and convoluted. We've taken it and organized it in a way that's understandable, readable, and workable. So again, thank you. I think the job is still to be done, but I think we're in good shape. So again, all in favor of this item? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Shanahan?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? It is 8:59. We are adjourned. Thank you.